All right, today we are covering payroll, and I want you to be able to understand better what your check looks like when you start a job, what the difference is going to be between your gross earnings and ultimately your take-home pay. So we're going to go over both benefits and deductions that come out of your paycheck. Now, there is a difference between your gross, you should write this down, gross pay, and your net pay. So if you have a job and you're working and you're getting paid, let's say $15 an hour, and you worked 20 hours this pay period, then you would have earned $300 gross. But that's not what you get to take home. So gross is how much the total amount is, all of the earnings, and then net pay is what you get to take home after both deductions and benefits have been taken out of your check. So net pay is what I would call take home income. And ultimately, this is the money that you're going to have to spend. This is what you'll use for your rent, food, groceries, utilities, all that good stuff, not what you've earned. So for people just entering the workforce, or if you're in high school and you get your first job and you know how much you get paid per hour and you're very excited about seeing that first check, and then you get hit with the reality that it's a lot less than what you've earned, that your take home is a lot less, is going to be because of both deductions and because of benefits. So let's go through these together. I'll start with deductions. So in your deductions, you're going to have to pay federal income tax. So your federal tax, everybody pays a federal tax, and that the amount of federal tax you pay is on a scale. Now, I'll have a separate lesson for taxes and walk through the different income brackets and how those percentages are applied when you break an earning threshold, okay? But everyone has to pay federal tax, and in that lesson, that separate lesson, we will go over what that federal tax, where it ultimately goes, what it's utilized for. Then we have state tax. So if you are in Illinois, if you're in New York, if you're in California or Florida, you're going to have a different and varying state tax. In Illinois, we have a healthy state tax. In states such as Texas and Florida, there is a zero state tax. So if you are employed and you live there, then you would, in a state like Texas or Florida, you would only pay a federal tax, you would not pay a state tax. So that's an earnings savings. That's money you get to bring home, that's more take-home income for you. Then we have Social Security. Now, Social Security, I want you to think of, well, every time you get paid, money gets taken out of your check. Every time gets taken out of your check and applied towards your Social Security. And I want you to think of Social Security as a bucket. Okay, and we're going to label that Social Security, and we're going to make those dollar signs also. So Social Security is going into your bucket. And the idea is that if you don't set up a retirement account, when you do retire at 65 or 67 and you're no longer earning money, you will need income to maintain your living expenses, your rent, groceries, utilities, and the things that you need. So in order to be able to do that, what the government has is structured a form of savings where they take your money and force it into a savings program so that when you hit that retirement age, you can start drawing or receiving Social Security benefits. So ultimately, when you're at this age, when you're 65, 67 or above, you're getting paid back the money that you contributed, that you started when you got your first job at 17, 18, 19, all the way up until your retirement age. All that time, you'll be contributing money into this bucket. So it's a safety net for you. And because everyone puts money into it, then when everyone reaches their retirement age, they pull money out. Now, you have to have worked, you have to have a certain amount of time worked in order to qualify for that. And that's a separate lesson altogether. But the big picture is Social Security is a retirement kind of safety net for when you hit retirement age. Then we have Medicare. Medicare is a separate bucket. Okay. And what Medicare is, let me do it this way. So what Medicare is you're contributing, you're putting money into so that when you reach the age of, you reach your retirement age and you don't have money to buy or pay for insurance, at that point, you'll have access to Medicare, which is the federally funded insurance program. So think of reaching the age of grandmas and grandpas, right? When you get to 65, 67, you are not going to be working or you don't want to work. So that means you're not going to have earned income. You're not going to be getting a paycheck. So you need money to live off of. So that's the Social Security. And if you're not working, then you don't have money to pay for insurance. So you have a safety program here that you've been contributing to and paying into when you were younger. And that's going into Medicare now. And when you reach that age, you are paying per month a certain amount for Medicare, but it's not going to be the huge monthly costs that or bi-weekly costs, however often you get paid, that Americans see now, because healthcare is definitely very expensive. So when you get paid, when you earn money, you're going to have a federal tax taken out. In the bulk of states, you're going to have a state tax taken out. You're going to contribute towards Social Security, and that is a safety net for you when you hit retirement age. And you're going to have Medicare taken out, and that's going to be your health insurance bucket, think of it that way, for when you hit retirement age. Now, depending on the size of your employer, they're going to offer benefits. And those benefits will include things like health insurance, a 401k, which is a retirement plan. They'll offer sick days with sick pay, or sick days with pay. And then vacation time, vacation days with pay. So depending on where you work, if you want to go on vacation, your boss or the company would say you can take as much vacation time as you want, but if you're not working, you're not getting paid. Depending on the employer, they want to offer a benefit to you and say, listen, not only would you be able to take time off, but we're going to pay you when you're on vacation with your family. So that's a nice benefit. That's a nice perk. Typically, it's not unlimited. It may be a week, or it may be 2 weeks, and you have to build up. You have to be there for 6 months or a year before you start getting that paid time off. But let's look at health insurance. So when you work for a company or a business and they offer health insurance, if the business is big enough, then what they're going to do is help you offset the cost of what, again, is very expensive health insurance. The employer is going to pay 82% of the cost of the insurance for you, and you will pay the other 18%. So that is a huge savings. So money is taken out of your check to go towards paying for your health insurance. That money that's being taken out is to cover your 18%. So if you're young and you don't go to the doctor, you might go 6 months, a year, you might go 3 years without going to the doctor. But every pay period, money is taken out of your check and you're paying for the protection so that in the event of an emergency, where you do end up in the emergency room or on the operating table, or you get ill, whatever happens, you have insurance to limit your cost, your risk, and your exposure to high medical costs. So even though you don't go to the hospital because you're super healthy, you haven't had any events, you're paying into your percentage, what's your responsibility to cover your health insurance. And that's important. Americans want health insurance, especially if you have a family. You want to make sure that your spouse and your children are covered as well. The employer's covering the lion's share. Now, just because you have money taken out of your check and it's going towards your health insurance doesn't mean that when you go to the doctor, you don't have a copay or that you have zero bills. This is just for protection to limit your exposure, okay? So that's health insurance, and it's a huge benefit. Before the Affordable Care Act, most people would go into a job that needed insurance would go into a job for the insurance benefit being what's driving them into the job, more so than what the job is paying per hour, if that makes sense. So that's how most Americans gained access to health insurance and health coverage, and that is through an employer and through group coverage. It's a way to make sure that you weren't being denied insurance coverage because of a pre-existing condition, maybe something you were born with. Maybe you have asthma and you have problems with your breathing or your lungs, and you need expensive medication. If you try to get insurance, the insurance may say, you're too expensive, we don't want to bring you on, and you're denied, but you would be able to get that insurance even with a pre-existing condition through the employer. So after the Affordable Care Act was passed, then there were more options. There were different exchanges added. So even independent workers, freelance, and freelance individuals would have access to healthcare, to health insurance. The next one I want to go over as far as benefits. This is really crowded here. I'm going to erase the sick days and vacation days. And I want to go to the 401k. Now the 401k is yet another bucket. The 401k is another retirement safety net. And so every time you get paid, you're putting money's taken out of your check and put towards your retirement. So once you hit retirement age, you can start withdrawing from your own retirement account. Not every company, not every business offers a 401k. Some, if you work for a non-for-profit, it would be a 403b. But if you don't work for a company and you're self-employed, then your option at that point would not be a 401k. It would be an IRA. And an IRA is an independent retirement account. Now, there are caps. The benefit of putting money into your retirement account is that you are not going to pay taxes on the money that you earn today that goes into grow for your future. So that's a huge benefit. But because you're not paying taxes today when you earn that money, the government has a cap as to how much you can put in there. And it's roughly about $13,000 per year. Now, separately, you can get an IRA, or if you work somewhere that doesn't offer a 401k and you say, I still want to put money aside for my elder years and for my retirement, then you can put money into an IRA, and that cap annual contribution is roughly about $6,000. So if you want to have both, you could do that. And so ensuring yourself greater protection, which means that when you get to the age of the grandmas and the grandpas, you will have Social Security, which is not going to be a lot, but you'll have some money coming in from there. You will have Medicare as your insurance backup, your safety net here, which will help you, again, limit your costs on procedures because elderly people need more medical attention and they're not as likely to go 2 and 3 and 4 years without having to see a doctor like young people. And then you have your 401k if you have the benefit of setting this up through an employer. You have your retirement account here, and then you also have a separate retirement account. Now, you can always set up an investment account with a brokerage firm or an investment firm. You can put money in and you can invest and you can work on those things. The idea is that when you hit retirement age, you have more than one source waiting to protect you. So when you're young, you're healthy, you have energy and time, you want to earn that money, you want to protect it, you want to build it up. So that when you get older, you're tired, you don't have as much energy, and you don't want to work, you've been able to put some things aside to make your future life for you more comfortable. And so it's all about what gets taken out of your check when you have the ability to contribute that. With the 401k, what I want you to be aware of is that a lot of businesses, because it is a benefit, they want to offer this to their employees, and what they'll do is they will offer a match. So big companies will offer a match and they'll say up into this amount. So up into 2% or 3% of whatever you contribute, we will match that dollar for dollar, which means that that is free money. So if you were to contribute and they were allow you to put, you could get, in essence, let me rephrase that. Your employer, you may be able to put, again, up to $13,000 in your retirement account, your 401k per year, and your employer would say, we will match up to $6,000. So if your employer matches you up to $6,000, you could put $13,000 into your retirement plus your employer's $6,000 that they put in to match your original $6,000. That means that you'll have $19,000 into your account. Or you could put in $6,000 plus their matching $6,000, and that leaves you at $12,000. When you have a match, you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that. Because if you only put in $3,000 and they will match up to $6,000, then they're going to match your $3,000. But basically, you're walking away from $3,000 of free money. So that's important as well. But the big part is understanding benefits, deductions, why it's important. In a separate lesson, I'll be able to break down why these are essential, the federal and state taxes, how they're utilized, and how everyone benefits overall from the taxes that are taken out. And, well, it gets very interesting when we start talking about higher taxes versus lower. Is everyone paying the right amount of tax? How do we make sure that it is a fair tax system? And when do we have a say as to how our tax dollars are utilized to serve the greater good? So all of that in a much different and much more detailed lesson. These are benefits and deductions for payroll income. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments.